Leftovers with Joel and Jenna. My name's Joel.
My name is Jenna. Oh, we're brought to you by Comeuppance Network. You could find all of our social media links at thishishowtowatchtv.com.
I got thrown off by my daughter walking through the shot there.
She went and got her own food and came back.
Oh, just went to get a snack and coming right back to my bed. That makes sense. You'll notice I have a different podcast partner for The Leftovers now. This is Jeremy's wife, my sister. That didn't sound weird, right? Like that. No,
Jeremy's
that works.
wife,
yeah,
comma,
my sister. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
So yeah, he lost interest in the show.
I also did. It took me a really long time to watch it.
To finish it? Same thing for me. It took me like weeks after it was over for me to actually sit down and watch it. One, I didn't really want it to be over. And two, the season hadn't
it never grasped my attention at all.
Even through the end?
Well, I think for the most part, I'm always so, spread out amongst other things. And
right.
I didn't really care. I didn't love it as much as the last season.
Season 2 was engrossing. Yeah. And this one was
oh my God, I can't wait to watch the next episode. This one, I was like, oh, do we have to watch it again? Now, once I finished these last ones, I really liked it. But
even the individual episodes, when you do sit down and watch them, they're good.
I was falling asleep constantly when I was watching them, so I lost interest real fast.
Yeah.
And then
I think that was my major issue too. Is I would watch them too late at night, and it's not a rip roaring action packed show, but it's really fucking cool. And there are things that I watched. I've watched this. It's a Matt World episode 3 times now. And there was stuff that I noticed in this one that I didn't catch either of the first 2 times. Yeah, and it was like, oh shit, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Stuff that was important to the plot. And it was like, I just missed it. So I must have been dozing. Whole parts.
I feel like I missed a lot, or I caught a lot of things. And I was like...
Is any of them a gnat? Because that would be great if you could catch the gnat.
There were a lot of things that I stumbled upon when we were watching this one, but Jeremy was playing Destiny, so he had his headphones on and be like, oh my God, that ties to blah blah blah, and he's like, what?
Right. I mean, again,
he wasn't paying attention
at
all.
I wish that there was whatever was missing this season that pulled everybody in last year. I think the quality is good. I don't think it's like shit quality compared to the previous season.
They were wrapping it up,
right,
and that's fine.
It felt that way, though. Season 2 felt like the possibilities were endless almost. And now it was like it's so finite that it's almost sad that it was gone, that it was going to be gone so quickly. Yeah. So anyway, we're doing episodes 5 and 6. I couldn't bring myself to watch 7 and 8 again and then try to do the notes for them. We'd be here for 2 hours. That's stupid. Let's talk for less than an hour about these two, and then
25 minutes. Got
25 minutes done. So it says, convinced it is Kevin's destiny to be in Miracle for the coming 7th anniversary of the departure, Matt Jameson impulsively heads to Australia in an effort to bring Kevin home. Unfortunately, Guy gets in the way earlier. I loved the sub sequence. I mean, despite the dong shots the whole time, that was really fucking cool, the way it was shot and the way it played out.
I didn't care at all about, I wasn't even paying attention at all about all I could think was he had to really carefully plan that out. How many times do you think he went into that room and practiced whether or not he could reach with his arm and his toe, and to be able to twist? That had to be practiced. It couldn't have been a on the whim type of, okay, now I'm going to go in and blow up this thing.
Well, no.
He had to get these things in a certain order.
No other keys would have fit in there for him to practice.
Right. So, but he had to
practice the distance for sure.
Somewhere and the distance. So
absolutely.
He could have practiced, he could have set up a mimic of it with keys that he had and practiced off the sub before going on. But he had to know that was his mission.
But you heard what he was doing, right?
He was setting off the nuke.
For why? Why did he do it?
Why did he do it?
Yeah. Because he thought he was blowing up an unhatched egg that was growing out of an island in the middle of the South Pacific.
Why?
It was on the news report. That's what he left a note say, or something like that, where I don't know if it wouldn't have been a note. He would have lived.
He lived, right?
It wouldn't have exploded.
Well, no. If they were in the sub, it's potentially that they were nearby the nuke, so they could have died. That's why they were all like, no.
Right.
All the people
well,
outside
also
the door.
just how about not shooting a nuke off and maybe starting a war? You know.
Well, I mean, not to get political, but isn't that what everybody right now is bent out of shape because a guy in Korea wants to test nukes in the middle of the Pacific?
Something to that effect. Yeah, I believe so.
It baffles my mind that anybody would think, let's put a nuke in the middle of the ocean. Like, oh, that's not going to affect, let's see, all the ocean life and maybe cause a tsunami where you're shoving all this water away from... how is that in any right mind a good idea?
Well, it was very lost feeling, and they even mentioned that the island they blew up was uninhabited, so... After that, Matt goes to Aceveda from The Shield. Do you remember Aceveda?
Yes. He was in something else, too.
Yeah, he had that guy in his mouth, remember, from season 3 of The Shield? That made my buddy Jimbo stop watching the show.
No way.
I'm not kidding you. He stopped watching after Aceveda got mouth raped.
Oh, was he in, oh my God, he was in something else that we used to watch. Other than The Shield, after Shield.
Oh, he was in Sons of Anarchy. He made an appearance, I believe.
I don't feel like that.
No?
But whatever.
Okay. Well, so basically, what's the hell's his name? Matt is just like hell-bent on getting to Australia. He believes Kevin needs to be in Miracle during the thing because he can't die that way, blah, blah, blah. He's just enraptured with the idea of him being Jesus.
Right.
Lori shows up with Michael and John, and she lays out how 3 years ago Kevin started having delusions, and instead of acknowledging them, they're making it worse by making it into scripture. Valid points. Yeah. I mean, she's come so far from where she was, especially in the second episode here we're going to discuss. But damn, Matt is like so far out at this point he barely even remembers Nora. Like, Nora, who?
Like his sister.
Yeah.
Well, but you have to think he hasn't seen her in a while. She's been off doing her own thing.
Right.
And like his wife left him, and
he's so solely focused
on the book. That's it. That's the only thing.
John is like, what the fuck happened to him? He's such a bitch now. Like, he's just like, yeah, okay, honey, whatever. It's weird. Like, he was such a tough guy in the last season.
I think his daughter dying just changed him. Totally.
Even though he doesn't believe that she died.
You don't think he believes that she died?
No. He says that many times in this episode and the next. He thinks she's still alive somewhere. He thinks she went to the other place.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know why he thinks that. They were blown up with a fucking bomb. Like, God, another lost tie-in there. Just tossing a bomb in there. One that did explode.
It did.
Matt starts grilling Lori about what Kevin said to make her think he's delusional, and he specifically asks if he said he saw something or someone. Like, that was pretty on the nose of a question. It almost felt like he knew at this point, even though he didn't.
Right.
But so they're arguing on the plane, and
Jenna.
yeah, that's a lighter. Just set it down.
She's tattling.
So Lori spouts off some shit about, some Kevin statistics about how often he shits and blah, 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 and he can't possibly be the second coming. Just as that happens, the fucking plane shakes. And Matt, smugly, like, oh, that was God telling you that.
Oh, shut it.
Yeah. Matt was reading a passage about Daniel and the lion. It said, Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. So that ties in clearly to David Burton, the God, being bitten by the lion.
Oh, okay.
Hath shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me. My God had sent his angel. So that he was not the God, and that's why he was, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, just kind of a neat little tie-in there. Arturo says they won't let him land in Melbourne. They go to Tasmania. The guy's like, there's this boat, but it's like a sex troupe, and you can go there, but like they're super into this lion or whatever. And she says, I'm 91 and having a son. Did you catch where that tied in later, too? Because the first 2 times I watched it, I had no idea what the fuck she was talking about. And then later on, they explained that Frasier was 91 and fathered a bunch of...
Yes.
So it was a tie into that. And also something with Sarah from the Bible or some shit. What was that? Shit, I'll find it somewhere in here. Anyway, let's see. They can't go there. Oh, she makes Matt tell a dirty joke. Yeah. It was decent. Lori's joke also was online too. I forgot what it was, but I read it at the time because I was like, "What was her panda joke? A panda walks into a bar, or something like that." Like she cut her off right away. Like, no, him.
Yeah.
So, don't mention Fraser after midnight was basically the only rule. You can't condemn us for sex, and don't mention Fraser after midnight. It was basically Gremlins. John says they aren't going to make it back by the 14th. Matt's nose starts bleeding. He's still passing it off as nothing.
Right.
He's not telling it. He's not accepting it. This whole episode is Matt trying to come to terms with his actual faith. His faith, I think everything was wavering before this episode, and by the end, he's like back. He's the way he should have been. He's been searching for this for 2 seasons now to try to have some contentment or belief in God, and it fucking took him yelling at God for that to happen. Yeah. So he goes up and talks to David Burton, the guy that's being called God, and he gives him a card that has the answers to all the questions that he would have asked. I thought that was really fucking funny.
Well, that was after he got punched by him, and the guy in the bathroom was
No, he asked if he got punched by him. Matt's nose was bleeding.
Oh, that was right after. Okay,
right. Yeah. So then he went up and asked, and he just gave him the card and walked away. He didn't punch him until he confronted him about throwing the guy overboard. And then the third time, he went and knocked him out with the axe handle thing.
So good.
Right. That was fucking cool. Excited. Matt's pissed about the answers on the card. Matt thinks they fixed John, not Lori. That's interesting. He's so fucking caught up in his own shit that he doesn't see that Lori's the only one being rational outside of all of this. Right.
But he hates her so much. That's all.
Why though? Just because she's interfering with his plot, or his plans?
The science versus faith. She is a doctor. I mean, this is the same as Lost. I mean, it's like
I am down with
man
that.
Man of science, man of faith. That's exactly what this is. Lori versus Matt.
Okay, fair enough.
And he can't stand that what she is saying is all true.
Okay, I like it.
Not that he's not right in some of this, because he does come out okay.
No, yeah, fair enough.
However, I mean, so it's the man of science, man of faith. It's all.
It's Jack versus Locke. Yeah, it's great.
It's all going to come together.
In the 70s, there were a bunch of lionesses that wouldn't mate in the zoo, and they rescued Fraser from a Mexican circus as a charity case. But by the next morning, he had knocked up every single one of them.
Yeah.
And they had 35 cubs after that. The lion on the boat is a descendant of Fraser, and they're traveling with him so he can spread his seed across the land, as you do.
I was so grossed out by the whole story.
Lori tries to let Matt win, but Matt insists his story is true. Like they're arguing about, the Kevin thing, and Lori tries to call bullshit, but slips up and mentions Patty being dead and Evie.
Yeah, oops.
Yeah, good job. Matt watches David Burton throw someone overboard, and no one seems to give a shit, so he jumps overboard himself, and then they stop the boat and get him back up there. He tries to rat him out to the captain, and he's like, oh, he's a celebrity. He was a broadcaster in the Sydney Games, and he medaled for Australia in the Olympics. But he became God after he died. Yeah, no big deal. Just he was rock climbing just outside Perth, which is an area we've heard of. Mm-hmm. That was where Kevin Sr. was.
Right.
When he was on that God's tongue thing. He fell and broke his neck, and a friend dragged him into a cave. They went for help, and when they came back, Burton was fine and said, no issues. I'm all good. That was interesting compared to what he was saying about Jesus later.
That was the exact same story that he said about Jesus.
It wasn't. He changed it, though. He said Jesus had a twin.
Yeah. So
did David Burton have a twin?
Maybe. Who's to say that's not the case?
I mean, you would think that they would know if an Olympic gold or an Olympic bronze medalist had a twin. Like you'd think that would be relatively common knowledge.
That story came into play again in the show. So, I mean, why not think that was the case?
That he was also like the Jesus one, you mean? I don't know. Do you then? I mean,
well, it came into play with Kevin too in the last episode. So why wouldn't you think the same thing? Not that we know that right now.
Right, I forgot. I genuinely don't even know what you're talking about because I'm so focused on these two
sorry,
that I don't even remember anything beyond. I remember bits and pieces. I loved the ending, by the way.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Anyway, it's telling that John seemed to not believe David Burton's story, considering it's literally the same fucking thing that they're doing with Kevin.
Right.
Like it's the way in this show seems to be that if you didn't see it, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And Matt thinks John doesn't believe him any more than he did about Matt not molesting his comatose wife.
I
mean, where do you land on that?
I think that he should be allowed to have sex with his wife. I don't care if she's asleep or comatose or whatever. She wasn't in a coma when she married him.
She also was pregnant and awake. So, like, it would have been terrible if she was asleep and pregnant.
What?
It would have been terrible if she was asleep and pregnant.
They could have done a C-section and taken the baby out. I mean, that wouldn't have really been an issue. But I don't understand why they're condemning him for that. I mean, he could have left his wife and gone and had sex with somebody else. So you're saying
that if you're in a coma, Jeremy has free reign? I
don't care. I don't know. I mean, what?
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just trying to relate it to a real life scenario. That's the.
When I don't remember when she did come back. Did she remember waking up? Like, did she ever say like?
I don't think we got that detail.
I don't
Mary.
remember him. I never woke up. You know, like he must have done that while I was asleep or whatever. Like,
right.
I feel like when she woke up and looked down and saw she was pregnant, she would have remembered because she did wake up at certain points. I mean, He wasn't lying. I don't think that... Did they ever show him having sex with her while she was asleep? I don't really remember.
No, she woke up. She woke up one day out of nowhere and then was asleep again the next day. So everybody was going, right, she woke up. And that's when you guys had sex, consensually.
I remember there being an episode where, and this was before this, but where he was looking at someone in a mirror or something. Was that him when they were laying in bed? He was looking to watch her, whether or not she was awake. That type of thing.
Damn it. So close to double nat action there.
I don't really remember.
Yeah, I don't either.
Sorry, moving on.
Let's see. We're doing a podcast right now. You're going to have to not talk to us or leave the room. So Matt goes to the lady who let him on the boat, who is also not interested in helping find the guy. And
nobody cares.
And he says Frasier's name, and they all lose their shit. She shouts about how at 91 Frasier was taken from his home, so hence 91 and have a son. Matt shames them. And I've watched this 3 times and just noticed that a lady tells Matt about the plan and tells him to stay on board until it's safe.
Oh yeah,
I never caught that.
I definitely caught that.
It was just like, what the shit? Okay, well that makes sense. Matt wants to deal with David Burton. He doesn't understand why John has changed so much. You know, because normally John would be on board to go whoop somebody's ass or, burn their house down, for example, like he did it with Isaac.
Yeah, but again, he lost his daughter and everything.
Leave the room, please.
Everything's different.
Shut the door. Get your toys then. You don't have to cry. Get your toys and get out of here. Just a little head popping over the bottom of the screen there.
Oh, my toys.
Oh, I need all my toys or I'm going to cry.
My toys.
Get your toys, Riverby. Okay, so, he doesn't understand why John's not down anymore, why he's changed so much, and Lori thinks he's found peace, and he's like, he thinks his daughter's still alive. That's not really peace.
Right.
And I tend to agree there. So what is he doing? What is John's deal?
John, for some reason, is caught in the middle. Because I think he truly does believe that Kevin is the answer to either communicating with his daughter or finding her, but he's stuck because he believes everything that Lori says. So he's like caught between the man of science, man of faith.
Do you think he wants the closure like Nora does? Or do you think he's one of those people that doesn't really want it, and if they let him talk to her, he wouldn't like the answers?
Probably. I don't think he would have liked what Evie had to say.
Those are the most crinkly toys ever, by the way.
I don't think he would have liked what Evie had to say because she probably she wouldn't care. She would be very like passive about it all. She believed in what she was doing at the time, so she probably did. Although when we see her, it's not her. So whatever.
Right. Yeah, no,
they've lived a different life.
Right. So they finally tell John about Kevin seeing Evie, and he was pretty calm. He took that way too well. And why didn't she just show the picture that Kevin sent her?
The picture that wasn't Evie?
Yeah.
Because, so Kevin was hallucinating when he saw Evie the first time.
Kevin has been hallucinating a lot.
Yes.
I'm still not sold after the end of the series even whether or not he actually went to that hotel in International Assassin. Whether that was a real experience or whether he was hallucinating.
Well, he could have absolutely just been dreaming it all.
He could have been, but fucking David Burton was there.
I mean...
David Burton was on the bridge when he was driving young Patty back into season 2. And then David Burton was in the fucking hotel lounge where he was singing, and then Kevin said, like, there's something going on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supernatural or not.
I don't know.
I mean, do we even assume the sudden departure was supernatural? I mean, it has to be, right?
That it was supernatural?
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm asking, I don't know if I'm asking if it's more religious or supernatural, but like I assume it's got to be one or the other.
I mean,
I guess it could be science-based.
I don't know. Because, I mean, like, I go back, I think about, like, Fringe and stuff like that, like how there's the alternate universes. And
oh God, that was so good.
Like, it's possible that something happened that caused the pull of the 10% of the population to go over here, and the other, 90% is still here.
It was 2 in 98, but yeah, I'm with you.
It was
2%.
It was 2%? I thought it was 10.
No,
okay, yeah, whatever.
She doesn't really watch the show.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought it was 1 in 10 people.
Right.
But okay.
Yeah, do you think that John actually changed, or that he's still the angry guy just waiting to explode underneath? Like, I almost feel like he's actually changed.
I think he has, because
How could you restrain that? He was so angry before. I don't think you could restrain it as well as he's doing.
I thought he explained it like he was different when he was with his ex-wife, like being around different people brings out different emotions and different parts of your personality. So maybe him being with Lori,
maybe she makes him feel safer
and where he can. Yeah.
Okay. Matt realizes this is a distraction. This whole thing, all of a sudden, he just realizes that all of this is a distraction. I wonder if he was just talking about Evie, as opposed to the whole thing with Frasier and all that. The whole. Yeah, I don't know. Or the whole David Burton thing.
He was meant to learn from all of that.
So he goes and grabs a wheelchair and an axe and goes up and, smacks David Burton in the face, throws his book overboard, ties him up to a chair, and brings him down to where Frasier is. And they did such a great job of taking Matt's issues with God and playing them out in that scene with David Burton. Right. He just wanted God's attention is what David Burton thinks, How doesn't Matt see that he's explaining what he's doing with Kevin, but talking about David Burton? Like he's trying to, just the way he talked about it was like, you're literally just talking about.
Sorry, Mackenzie's calling me for a ride.
Oh yeah?
I'm sending Papa. Okay, bye. Sorry. Calling over and over.
He's trying to talk about the bullshit of David Burton's story, but he's literally saying the same. He believes the same thing about Kevin. He's doing that same shit that John was doing, or whoever it was, where they wouldn't. Was it him still? Where they just didn't see how ridiculous the other their side of it was.
Everybody was having that same conversation with somebody else.
Weird
episodes.
So it took a lion-worshipping sex cult renting a Tasmanian ferry and a man parading around as God murdering someone without repercussion right in front of him for Matt to get pissed. Mm-hmm. Just took all that stuff. So, yeah, like we discussed already, could David Burton have a twin brother? He said Jesus had a twin, And Matt says everything he did was because he thought God was watching. It's like, yeah, well, I wasn't. So you did all that shit for you.
But he's not God.
No, well, duh. But to Matt in that moment, it made Matt realize that maybe he had done that shit for himself.
If he's not God, and he's not a twin, so, I mean, we've seen Kevin come back before. I mean, he's died and come back to life, and died
from
and
what
come back
we
to life.
From what we perceived, he's died and come back to life.
Yes.
I don't know if that's fact or not.
Okay, I mean, there's the like purgatory, which is like, okay, yeah, he fell and broke his neck, but I mean, are we thinking that like his friend dragged him into the,
or that he got shot in the chest and just lived?
Yeah,
I mean that kind of shit. Yeah, it's hard to dispute that, really.
I mean, nobody went in and fixed his broken neck in the cave, but he just walked out. I mean, those types of things. Like maybe he fell into this magical pond that healed him. You know, I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I don't think that he was necessarily a twin, but that twin story kept reappearing. So I was like, oh, well, maybe.
Right.
But I definitely don't think he's God. He's somebody that got a second chance at life and took advantage of it. He's like, oh, I'm going to tell everybody I'm God.
But doesn't he seem to believe that he is, as opposed to just be fucking with people?
I think that he knows that nobody can question it because they all knew he died and came back to life. So now he's making shit up, which is the funny part about his little card.
Yeah,
he's
fair
like,
enough.
Here you go. These are all the answers.
Right.
I'm not talking to you.
Well, it was interesting that Matt seemed to not be interested in him saving him again. He's like, you can't do that. Like, that seemed to be his whole thing,
right.
You know. And then David Burton snaps his finger in front of Matt's face and says he's saved. The captain tells Matt that a local fishing boat found a body, and that they're gonna, press charges against David Burton when they get to shore. They're calling the police on him and everything. So Matt's faith was wavering before this episode, but it's back now. Hence him no longer having urgent business in Melbourne.
So what was the thing that made the captain turn around?
Because they found the body.
Oh, they found the body. Okay.
It was the next day. It was daylight, so somebody found the body, and a fishing boat found it, and yeah. So, like I said, his faith was wavering before, but now it's back. No urgent business in Melbourne, and then he finally admits to everybody that he's dying.
Right.
It was like him accepting his lot in life now.
Yeah.
And David wasn't able to keep the lion from attacking him, therefore he's not God. He got eaten at the end of the episode. So the lioness makes reference to Sarah of the Old Testament, who was 91 when she gave birth to Isaac. How curious that Nora goes by Sarah at the end of season 3, episode 1. And was older looking, Lots of biblical... This is stuff from Reddit here, just this little bit, and then we'll get on to episode 6, and I have much less notes about episode 6. The lioness... lots of biblical references in this episode. David Burton is such a wonderful proxy for God. His FAQ card was both hilarious and revealing. I would assume that if you could ask God about those things, those would be answers you'd receive. Matt has finally found real faith at the end of this episode. Since the departure, he's been fighting uphill to construct his version of God's will. He's been imposing his own perspective on every event from the departure onward. In doing so, and perhaps without realizing it, Matt has assumed he is God's mouthpiece. His self-righteousness has only brought the people around him alienation and pain. Now he's finally accepting his fate / God's path. For once he appears to be at peace. Couldn't help but feel many similarities between Burton and Holy Wayne. When Burton snapped his fingers, he didn't heal Matt's cancer. He just permitted Matt to accept his situation. In much the same way Holy Wayne didn't take away Nora's pain, he gave the opportunity to let it go. And again, Holy Wayne didn't magic Kevin a new family. He just helped him realize that family is what Kevin truly wanted. The show does this often. It provides a spiritual guide for a character in need, a guide who then leads the character in question to see their own hang-ups and overcome them. That idea seems to hold true in life. Becoming a better person is a mixture of believing a better self already exists within, actually allowing yourself to change your self-image and routine to match these better qualities, and the serendipitous opportunity that comes along, allowing you to put those new qualities in action. An overarching theme of this show is how we slip in and out of self-awareness, how easy it is to become obsessed with our own misery / unworthiness, and how profoundly simple it can be to shift from that to contentment and back again. Just somebody threw a fucking couple paragraphs at me, and it struck me as interesting and maybe worth saying. So that's episode 5, and that was a Matt world. We're on to episode 6 called Certified, and Lori Garvey, a former therapist. I always spell it Lori, even though it's clearly Laurie. Yeah. Lori Garvey, a former therapist, must become one again as she heads to Australia to help Nora and Kevin along their paths. Did we talk about the guy in the airport? No, we didn't. At the beginning of episode 5, when they set off the nuke, do you remember in the previous episode there was a guy ranting in the airport about nukes? There was. They were dragging him away. So it was just, if that was foreshadowing, but did that guy know, or was he just crazy and it just happened to actually be nukes?
Maybe he had been training that guy on how to turn the key.
He was the key trainer, or the key key turner trainer.
Key turn trainer.
Yeah. So it took me a little while to realize what was flashback and what wasn't in this episode. But everything, like all the stuff with Lori doing therapy and stuff, is obviously what was the turning point? It was when she came to the house and met up with John and Michael and Matt.
Doing therapy for...
Or not Kevin? Matt.
What are you talking about?
She was doing therapy for Sam's mom, baby Sam's mom. Remember the first lady in the first episode of Leftovers? That was in the... she was in the laundromat, and her baby was crying, and she was on the phone, and then she turned around and it was gone.
Oh.
She was the lady that was doing therapy with Lori.
Okay. So
that was a cool little throwback, but that stuff all happened before she came to Kevin Sr. in Australia.
Right.
Because it was kind of showing it simultaneously, or overlapping, but it was all before she got to their house, because she had the black eye. Okay, so I thought it was funny the way she threatened to join the cult, or join the Guilty Remnants. The Sam's mom, she doesn't have a name as far as I'm aware. Lori tries to commit suicide with pills. I loved the melancholy Metallica Sad But True version that they were playing. That was cool. Right as she decides to live, and she gets all whited out and asks the Guilty Remnant to tell her what to do, which is exactly what Sam's mom said to her. Tell me what the fuck to do.
Right.
I mean, then the theme was something to do with suicide, because it was just like, suicide, it's the suicide. I've never heard the song before, but Lori goes to Australia to be part of all of this, and just as she's getting footage of the two doctors kissing, the dog gets a hold of her footage. She's on the fence. No? Too bad stuff. Matt, Nora, and Lori are on a mission. Kevin Sr. tells his tale to Lori, and Grace is there, so she's like, well, I'm going to admit to killing that other Kevin. It was the wrong move, but I'm going to own it in a couple days. Yeah, sorry about that. Lori sort of mocks the plan about Christopher Sunday and the song, and sort of compares it to the Wizard of Oz. I mean, it sounds crazy, but she's not telling them, this is all stupid.
Right.
Not overtly, anyway. I mean, she's sort of fucking with him and saying it that way. But Nora says if she was going to kill herself, she would go scuba diving. And she points out all the ways you could die via scuba diving. Which
is kind of foreshadowing to the end of the episode.
Right, but Lori's not dead.
I know.
But I so thought that after watching it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
Well, I don't know. I don't even necessarily remember. So whatever. It appears that she's doing that at the end of the episode, but she could have literally just been scuba diving and again changed her mind.
But I don't know why she was scuba diving.
I think the implication was she was giving herself the option to kill herself. But just like with the pills at the beginning of the episode, she didn't do it. She copped out. She bailed at the last second. Yeah. So she just didn't do any of the hundreds of things Nora was saying she could do in that situation to easily kill yourself. She just didn't.
Right.
Lori's showing off her talents of scamming them, and said they got attacked when they tried to do departures because people didn't want the closure. And Nora's like, no, I totally want that. I want to know where it is. And in the background, Kevin Sr. knocks out the other cop who was there investigating the first cop missing with a shovel. He's like, we'll help. Nora jokes about giving Lori's lighter back. like she gave Lily back. You want me to give it back like I gave Lily back? Like, she was being fucking weird there.
Yeah, super shitty.
Super intense, and like, yeah, she was like acting like any of it had anything to do with Lori.
Right, like it was all her fault.
Right. That was the implication I got from that.
Keep that? Where are you going with this?
Right, so they end up getting into a scuffle, and that's where Lori gets her black eye.
Yeah.
Kevin Sr. is driving the cop to nowhere and leaving him, as he says, and John explains he and Erica split because he thinks Evie's alive. And he says he should have told Lori that he believed that. I mean, she seems to be pretty accepting of him, so I agree. He should have told her. No, Lori.
Oh.
One of Grace's kids loved boats, so some friends stripped the church to make the boat in the yard. And then, of course, Kevin Sr. shows up and applies all his biblical flood shit to it. And then next thing you know, oh, this is the boat. Of course it's an ark.
Right.
Nora says the guy on the sub launched the nuke because he thought there was an egg that was going to hatch from the sea with a 7-headed monster that would eat us all. He got the idea from Revelations. And Matt's like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's what it says, but it's not to be taken literally. And she's like, so the Bible's only literal when it's not ridiculous?
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that Nora, Matt, that stuff is before where Lori's talking to John. Like, I don't know why it was. I mean, it's usually pretty obvious when they're doing blipping in and out of time periods, but for some reason it kept throwing me off. I kept thinking they were happening simultaneously.
When do you think it was happening? Because they're all in Australia.
No, I know, but the Lori, Matt, and Nora stuff is all happening before she ever goes to Kevin Sr.'s house and Grace's house.
All happening
but we're seeing it happen at the same time.
All happen before Lori goes there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because she got the black eye halfway through the episode, but she had it from the beginning when she was at Kevin Sr. and Grace's. So yeah, it was just, I kept forgetting that for whatever reason. Lori and Grace talk about husbands, then the fact that Grace's kid's shoes were missing. That's fucking weird.
It's very weird. And
that she went to all the different Goodwill shops and blah, 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 trying to find them afterwards.
She searched and then I had to pause the episode because I was like, what happened to her kids? And Jeremy was like, don't you remember? She
thought they departed.
She thought they departed, so she never looked for them, but she wasn't home. Her husband departed, and then they left the house looking for mom and got lost on the property and starved to death.
How the fuck is he not into the show? That's super interesting.
I know, but why did the kids not just go back home?
Because they thought nobody was there.
Who cares?
I don't know. I mean, they're kids.
You're gonna live outside?
They're dumbass kids.
Okay, but there were 6 of them. There wasn't an older one that could have been like, hey guys, let's go home and sleep in our beds tonight.
The oldest one suggested tying their shoelaces together and throwing them over telephone wires. And here we are. Now they don't have shoes.
Oh, is that what happened to the shoes?
No, I'm kidding. I'm just making that up.
I'm like, oh, well, all right. They took them all to Shoe Corner.
Yeah, they took them all to Shoe Corner in Crown Point, Indiana. If Kevin talks to them when he goes over there, he's going to ask where they put their shoes. Yeah. I mean, that's foolproof. Because if he came back and said, oh, their shoes are blah, 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 and why?
Yeah.
I mean, because they were all found, but not their shoes. Who the fuck walked by and grabbed their shoes? It's super interesting.
It's very weird.
While them not having to provide any details of what happened with it. It's weird how you can do that. They discuss which role they would all take at a Last Supper type scenario, which they're clearly sitting at. Yeah. Kevin Sr. thinks Lori is doubting Thomas, but she reveals herself to be Judas. She's like, doubting is easy.
Yeah. I'm plotting against you all.
Right. And she's like, she found out Judas killed himself. And she's, oh, I didn't know that.
Right. That wasn't part of my plan.
Right.
But I guess I'll follow through.
Right. No, that's fucking great. Yeah, she didn't shit. So,
but technically, the only person trying to kill themselves in this episode is Nora.
You think
she's purposely trying to kill herself because she's trying to go to where her kids are.
But I don't think she thinks she's going to die. Not anymore. I think she did. For a long time, I think Nora believed this is you're gonna fry people, but I think she's coming around to it when she's.
What are you talking about? Her body is gone after she goes. They showed them all the people. They're rolling away those rock formations. Like, oh, that's what's left of their body.
We'll have to talk about it next week because we can't discuss. We can't, go into detail of what happens beyond that in case people are watching these as they're watching the episodes. But I have answers for that.
Okay.
Let's see. So Michael passes out, Kevin passes out, or Kevin Sr. passes out, and then John's passing out. And Lori drugged them all with the dog pills, and she winks at the dog. So Nora finds the machine. She brings up how everyone stared at them after their parents died. And took them mini golfing and stuff just to keep them busy, and how they went to a baseball game and there was a beach ball, and she was fascinated by it, and then it came over and Matt hit it, but he accidentally hit it into the aisle, and then an usher stabbed it and ended the fun for everybody. And she's like, I don't understand why somebody would want that job. The fuck is she talking about there? I get that it was a traumatic moment, but what is she relating that to? Who would want that job? I don't quite follow what she's getting at there. I mean, I get
the fun killer,
right? I mean, does that relate to her, or why is she so interested in that? I don't quite follow.
I'm not sure if they were trying to push that towards that the people that took away all the kids were the fun killers, or all the 2% of the people, or I
don't know. I'm not really. I get that it was a traumatic thing for her as a kid. I mean, I guess I'll just have to leave it at that. So if they said why would he want to do that job? And somebody says if he doesn't, the ball will go on the field and it'll be fucking chaos. So that was Lori. So Matt decides to stay with Nora and gives the book of Kevin to Lori. That's hence her bringing it to them. And what a lovely moment between Lori and Nora when she takes her cigarettes and agrees to be her client. But doesn't that achieve the opposite goal of what Nora wanted? Because if Lori takes her cigarettes and boom, now you've paid me, that's client-patient, doctor-patient confidentiality.
Yeah.
Didn't she say tell them I left? Or did she say don't tell them I left?
I don't remember, but even if she did say tell them I left,
but then why would she be, if she said tell them I left, and then she tricks her into being her patient, now she knows she can't tell it, so why would she be
if you tell your doctor please tell somebody this, then they would have to do that.
That was the point of her becoming the doctor.
Even if somebody is your patient, if they're trying to do something that potentially harms themselves, then as a doctor you're supposed to tell somebody, even with the client privilege thing.
Okay.
Whatever.
So Nora then ends it with same time next week, and I teared up a little bit at that because it was their goodbye. Not that they have any business together, so to speak, but it was nice to see them wrap up their relationship.
Well, I mean, Nora's with Kevin, and Lori was always with Kevin.
Nora was not with Kevin at this point. They had split up. They broke up with the hotel scene.
Room. Yeah.
What an amazing fucking... That was such a great shot. The water dripping down as she's smoking the cigarette in there, and the light, everything about that was fucking cool. It was the Take On Me song, that 80s song. Okay, so Kevin returns at night, and Lori wanted to talk, so she drugged everybody else. She wanted to say goodbye. They share a smoke, and not literally, but they both have one together, and she tells secrets. They start telling secrets back and forth. He tells that he killed a hamster. She says she went to a conference and it was 2 hours, and she went to a spa for $2,000 a night. And he hated the house. And then she's like, I was pregnant during the sudden departure. That's not on par with the other things we've been confessing here. Right. You took a fucking leap there. That's a big jump.
Huge.
So, I mean... he says he didn't want a baby, so they don't have to feel bad about it necessarily, but she should have told him.
Yes, because that would have made sense as to why she joined the Guilty Remnant at the time.
Yeah, exactly. It would have given some clarity.
Just talk to him. Be like, I was pregnant and the baby disappeared and I'm losing my shit.
Which is why she couldn't do that, because that's like people giving straight up answers on a show like this. If you do that ruins the show.
I guess, whatever.
Yeah. So she couldn't tell him, here's my motivation. She just went and joined the cult. Kevin is not scared about dying again. When he was dead, he never felt more alive, as he said. And then when she gave him the lighter and said, keep it, that was her saying, don't forget me. Aw. Like, that was so sweet that she passed it on the same way Jill did to her. But she was telling him not to forget her. You know, it's like, aw.
Maybe she was saying, don't forget our kids.
Maybe. No, that's valid too. It's possible.
Don't forget our life together. I mean, that's fine. Like, here, you're going to die, but, we had some good times.
Let me ask you this. She divorced him because of the Guilty Remnant.
She said that she did because she had to.
It was part of the cult. It was part of what they do. Would it be within her right to want to undo that at this point?
She's already remarried, so at this point, no.
Oh, right. Yeah, duh. Okay, fair enough.
It's very selfish of her.
Right. Lori goes scuba diving, or goes to go scuba diving, but Jill calls. And what? I don't know. Go away. Jill calls her, and she asks this random-ass question, which is a perfect, like, motherly moment there for her.
Yeah.
Tommy's in the background, so that's the appearance we get from them this season. At least so far.
Yeah.
They're just on the phone in the background. And she asks about a random videotape that they supposedly got from a garage sale that she was obsessed with when she was 5. And then Lori remembers exactly what it was and is blubbering. And they end the call and say their goodbyes and love you, blah, blah, blah. And then she drops in, and that was the end of the episode.
And all I could think about was the random movie that we had on VHS as a kid.
Which one was that?
The movie where all the kids kept losing all their hair, and somebody came up with I just told her to get out, and she points at Echo, like, Echo? No, you get out. Right. Everybody was losing all their hair or something, and they needed
the peanut butter solution. Yes. What do you mean? That's not a random videotape. That's a movie.
But that was a movie that, like, none of my friends ever watched. When we were kids, I don't remember anybody else knowing anything about.
Does anybody know anything about the peanut butter solution? What do you know about
awesome.
#peanut butter solution?
So good, such a great movie. But
is it now? Have you seen it in the last 20 years?
No, it's probably terrible.
It's probably terrible. I have to look it up to see if it's available.
When that scene was playing out, I envisioned me and you getting into an argument and calling Mom and going, "What was that movie where they had to grow their hair really long and and they were making paintbrushes out of them or whatever the hell they were doing in the movie?" Terrible. Oh, that's the trailer from 1995.
It's an 85.
A normal boy in an abnormal position.
He had a little accident.
You had yourself some sort of extraordinary fright.
Michael, where's your hair? Bald.
The proper medical term is harum scarum.
What a loony.
Harum scarum.
He's got one hairy problem. And he's about to find a solution.
You can't just come into our house, can you? Ghosts can go anywhere.
In the least likely place you'd think.
Here's old Charlie's recipe.
So I definitely
A
remember
jar
it
of
being
peanut
better.
butter.
Don't use too much of it or watch out.
But the peanut butter solution is just the beginning
It's growing so fast.
of an even bigger problem.
Mr. Jingles, it's moving.
Human hair grows only half an inch a month. No more. Oh, that's a head of hair. Well done, son.
I
Wow.
don't think it's natural, Dad.
It's the peanut butter solution.
This is a classroom, not a barbershop. A toast to this new hair. Long may it grow.
But if it doesn't stop growing, what will happen to Michael? It's a hair-raising, heartwarming comedy adventure for your whole family.
Such a great movie.
Peanut butter solution.
Whatever, I remember it being really good. And then those people kidnap him and put him in the factory.
Spoilers.
Oh, okay.
What to make hair?
Yeah, they were making paintbrushes out of his hair.
Oh, that's what they were using.
That's what they were doing.
Okay,
yeah.
God, what a bunch of shit.
Anywho, I mean, when Lori jumped in, I was like, "Oh, you selfish bitch! Like, what are you doing? Like, why?" Like,
I remember the first time I watched it being like, "Oh shit, she's gonna really kill herself!" Like,
but why? Like, and then I was just like irritated because and then I'm thinking like, "Oh, is she out there doing something for the nuke? Like, what? Like, I don't know. Where is she? She's got to be off. Well, it's the same captain.
She's in Australia.
It's the same captain from the Fraser boat.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty.
I did not catch that at all.
I'm almost positive it was the same guy. So, and he's like, "Come on, I gotta go." Like,
no, it wasn't the same guy, but he was like, "It's now or never."
Are you sure?
I'm nearly 100% positive.
Thought it was the same guy.
I'm gonna go check it out real quick while we're here talking about it. But I'm pretty sure it's not the same guy.
I mean, it was very like she was all nicey to her kids instead of saying goodbye. I don't know. It was just weird.
Okay, so let's see if it's at that point. Let's go to.
Tell Tommy I love him.
Mom loves you, you fucking idiot.
I love you too, Mommy.
Bye, kids.
Okay, so he's gonna then tell her it's now or never.
Now or never?
Are you sure it's not the same guy?
Yes, I'm positive that's a different guy.
I don't know. Let's rewind.
What, you want me to go to episode 5 now?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'll go to episode 5.
I want a side by
This
side.
is really entertaining for the
side by side
the podcast
of the
listener.
two pictures. It's the same.
Do we need a side by side or just here he is, right here. It's not the same guy.
That's it.
Oh.
Totally different guy.
Whatever.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be back next week with the final 2 episodes of The Leftovers. Thanks for watching, and
This is how to watch TV.
see you later.
All these memories in my mind. I'm still a secret lemonade drinker.